If you're over 50 and there's a constant ringing in your ears, a high-pitched whistle, a faint electric hiss that never fully goes away, this is not something you should ignore. And it's definitely not just aging, because what you're hearing right now may actually be a signal that something deeper inside your body is breaking down quietly, day by day. So before you brush it off, before you tell yourself it's harmless, stop for a second and really listen. Right now, can you hear it? That thin, piercing tone, that strange background noise that follows you into silence, the one that gets louder at night, when everything else fades away. Most people call it tinnitus. They're told it's common. They're given basic advice like use white noise, and then they're sent home to live with it. But here's the truth no one explains clearly. That sound is not random. It's your brain reacting to something that's going wrong. And if you don't address what's causing it, it doesn't just stay the same. It often gets worse, because this is not just about your ears. It's about your brain, your nerves, your blood flow, and the tiny cells responsible for turning silence into sound. And once those systems start struggling, your brain doesn't go quiet. It creates noise to compensate. That ringing, that buzzing, that constant internal sound is your nervous system misfiring. And today, you're going to understand exactly why. Because there are hidden root causes behind this that most people never discover, even after years of dealing with it. And until you fix those, no amount of masking, ignoring, or hoping will make it stop. Let me explain something most people don't realize. Deep inside your ear, there are microscopic hair cells, so delicate, so sensitive, that they rely on a constant supply of oxygen and nutrients just to survive. And feeding those cells is one of the smallest arteries in your entire body, so small that even the slightest change in your blood flow can affect it. Now think about this. As you age, your blood doesn't flow the same way it used to. It becomes thicker, slower, more inflamed. And when that happens, those tiny cells in your inner ear start to struggle. They don't die immediately. They become unstable. Instead of sending clean signals to your brain, they start firing randomly, like a broken wire, sparking uncontrollably. And your brain, trying to make sense of that chaos, turns it into sound. That's what you're hearing. Not something external, but a signal created inside your own nervous system. And here's where it gets even more important, because once this process begins, your brain can actually get stuck in a loop, a pattern where those faulty signals repeat over and over and over again. Even when there's no real sound, it's like your brain is replaying the same broken note endlessly. And if nothing interrupts that cycle, the ringing becomes your new normal. But here's the good news. That cycle can be disrupted, and it starts by fixing what your cells are missing, because one of the biggest hidden triggers behind this is not damage, it's deficiency. Let's start with something your body depends on more than you think: zinc. Your inner ear holds one of the highest concentrations of zinc anywhere in your body. And there's a reason for that, because every time you hear something, your cells are exposed to oxidative stress, and zinc acts like a shield. It protects those delicate hair cells from breaking down under pressure. But here's the problem. Most people over 50 are not getting enough usable zinc. Not because they don't eat it, but because their body isn't absorbing it properly. Things like processed grains, excess sugar, even too much caffeine can block zinc from being used where it's needed most. So even if your diet looks fine on the surface, your inner ear could still be starving. And when that happens, those cells become weaker, more vulnerable, more likely to misfire, which means more ringing, more noise, more frustration. But zinc is just one piece of the puzzle, because there's another factor that plays a much deeper role in how your brain processes sound. Vitamin B12. This is not just another vitamin. It's essential for your nervous system. Think of your nerves like electrical wires. They're supposed to be insulated, protected, so signals travel smoothly. But when B12 levels drop, that insulation begins to break down. And when that happens, signals don't travel cleanly anymore. They leak, they scatter, they create interference, and your brain interprets that interference as sound, a ringing, a buzzing, a noise that doesn't belong there. And here's something most people are never told. Your B12 levels can be normal and still not be enough, especially if you're dealing with symptoms like tinnitus, because for proper nerve repair, your body needs more than just the minimum. It needs optimal levels. Without that, the damage continues quietly. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that the ringing gets worse when you're stressed? That's not a coincidence, because your brain has a chemical system that controls how excited or calm your neurons are. And one of those chemicals is called glutamate. It's like the accelerator. When it rises, your brain activity speeds up. But here's the issue. If there's not enough magnesium in your system, there's nothing to slow it down. No brake. So your neurons keep firing. Faster, louder, more aggressively, until your system becomes overloaded. This is what creates that intense, almost unbearable ringing, especially at night, when your brain has nothing else to focus on. And magnesium is what helps bring that system back into balance. It tells your brain, calm down, slow down, stop firing so aggressively. And when that happens, the intensity of the noise begins to drop. But there's something even deeper at play here. Something most people completely overlook. Your body's ability to repair itself. Because every night, while you sleep, your body goes into recovery mode. It tries to fix damage, restore balance, heal what's been stressed during the day. But if the nutrients required for that repair aren't available, the process fails. And instead of healing, your brain becomes more aware of the problem, which is why so many people notice the ringing at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in complete silence. It's not just the quiet room, it's your biology, struggling to repair something without the tools it needs. And if you don't support that process, the cycle continues, night after night. Now let's talk about something that directly affects this entire system. Blood flow, because your inner ear depends on some of the smallest blood vessels in your body. And when your blood becomes thick, inflamed, or sluggish, those vessels can't deliver what your cells need. Oxygen drops, nutrients don't arrive, waste builds up, and those delicate hair cells start to fail. This is where omega-3 fatty acids become critical. They help your blood stay fluid, flexible, able to move through even the smallest pathways. And when circulation improves, those starving cells finally start receiving what they've been missing, which means better function, better signaling, less noise. And when you combine that with natural circulation boosters like garlic, ginger, you amplify that effect. You open pathways that were restricted, you restore flow where there was blockage, and slowly the system begins to stabilize. But there's one more piece that ties all of this together. Vitamin D. Most people think of it as something for bones, but it's much more than that. It plays a major role in your nervous system, in how your cells repair, how inflammation is controlled, how signals are regulated, and when your levels are low, your body loses one of its key tools for recovery, which means damage lingers longer. Inflammation stays active, and symptoms like tinnitus become more persistent. Now think about modern life. Less sunlight, more time indoors, more stress. It's the perfect setup for deficiency, and that deficiency quietly contributes to the noise you're hearing. So what does all of this mean for you? It means this is not something you just live with. It means your body is asking for support, and when you give it what it needs, things can start to change. Not overnight, not instantly, but gradually, because your body knows how to repair if you give it the right conditions. And this is where your daily habits become powerful, especially what you eat and when you eat it, because your final meal of the day can either support your recovery or make things worse. Imagine this, a meal designed specifically to nourish your auditory system, to deliver zinc, magnesium, omega-3s, and the nutrients your nerves need to rebuild. Something simple but powerful. A piece of salmon, rich in omega-3s and vitamin D. A side of leafy greens loaded with magnesium. A handful of pumpkin seeds for zinc. A drizzle of olive oil. A squeeze of lemon. A bit of fresh ginger to boost circulation. This isn't complicated, but it's targeted. And when you repeat this consistently, you begin to change what's happening inside your body, week by week, signal by signal, until one day you notice something different. The ringing isn't as sharp, not as loud, not as constant. It's still there, but it's fading. And then slowly, it loses its grip. It stops dominating your attention. It becomes background and then quieter and quieter until silence starts to return. Not perfect silence, but relief, real relief, the kind that lets you sleep again, focus again, live without that constant distraction in your head. Because that's what this is really about. Not just your ears, but your quality of life, your peace, your ability to sit in a quiet room and actually feel calm. So if you've been told that this is just part of getting older, that nothing can be done, that you just have to tolerate it, understand this. Your body is not broken. It's responding. And when you support it properly, it can respond differently. So don't ignore the signal. Don't wait for it to get worse. Start paying attention to what your body is asking for. Because the sooner you do, the sooner things can begin to shift. And maybe tonight, when you lie down and everything goes quiet, you'll notice something. That sound is just a little bit softer. And that's where it begins. Now I want to hear from you. When the ringing gets worse, what time of day do you notice it the most?